think everybody else is here other than I was the only one, the last straggler, right? All right, cool. So we need to get started. We're gonna kick off demos here first. Does any group want to volunteer to go first?
Warren, do you want to go first? Okay. Warren's going to start with the feature.
Take it away.
Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So for our issue, we wanted to make sure that the users aren't able to add duplicates to their list. So we can work through example. Let's do a new one for coffee. So right now the list is empty, so this should work. As you can see, the first item is coffee. And when you try to add a duplicate, for example, exactly coffee again, it pops up saying that this item already exists in the list. And as you can see, you can't add duplicates. Another example is if you do like capitalization, it also shouldn't work. And also maybe like you can have a space in between, something like this. This should not work as well. Or maybe like a white space in the front and some white space in the at the end, or a period at the end. And yeah, this is our issue.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you see that? Oh, I just made you all disappear. Okay, we're good. You can see it. Okay. All right. So in our add items component, we are setting the item name to the value from the input here. And then we trim the white space from the input to check if the user added an empty string. So you can't add any empty spaces. And then we normalize the item name, so removing any punctuation or white spaces. And that function is in the utilities folder. So we trim the white space, we lowercase the item name, and then we replace all the characters. And then we normalize the existing list item so that we can compare the new input to the items that are already on the list. And then if there's already a duplicate, then it'll alert the user and says that the item already exists in the list. And if it doesn't already exist, then it'll add the item, but it adds the original input that the user added. So if they put any punctuation or anything, that'll add it to the database exactly like they added it. And I think those were all of our changes.
Awesome. I really liked how you guys handled the normalization this week. I think it was very smooth, and other than just the kind of empty items that we had to take care of, all the acceptance criteria were basically done by the time I reviewed. Very excellent.
Awesome.
All right. If no one else has any questions or comments, we can go ahead and move on to the next demo.
I'm ready. Here I go with sharing my screen. Can you see my screen? Great. So, sorry, let me move this. So I'm going to walk you through the recent updates. These changes help to enhance app's ability to predict when a user will need to purchase an item and restore that information for the future use. So we are relying on function that was provided for us. So it will do all of the magic math for us. And the main code changes happened in the list item. So I want to go through everything that has changed. So first of all, the state is relying on a function that takes in date last purchased. And then if the item was bought within the last 24 hours, we mark it as purchased and we prevent users from mistakenly purchasing the same items too soon. We are comparing some dates, and that's how the logic goes here. So then also some changes in our handler. So on change, we are setting the state set as purchased as before, and then we have a little wrapper function over here that transforms the object before we are sending it to the Firebase for updating. And so while we are updating the object, we are changing the date last purchased, we are calculating the date next purchase, and we are increasing total purchases. So I want to talk about how we calculate those dates. So we have the main function that relies on two helper functions. So first thing we do is we are calculating the purchase interval. So we are just trying to track the habits of the user. And then we are making the main calculation. Throughout making these calculations, we are heavily relying on this function that takes two inputs. They're both dates. And we are just subtracting earlier date from a later date, dividing it by a single day, and getting a pretty round number by calling on math floor. So with that, how we are calculating the intervals, we are trying to get out the last purchase date, and depending on that, we can track to the current date how much time has passed. And then we're also trying to calculate the day since last purchase if we can. And with those calculations, we are finally calling our magic calculate estimate function that gives us a whole number that we are later calling onto a different function to get a date with the offset of the number that we got from the magic function. And that's how it works. Just to demonstrate, I don't have like a whole lot to demonstrate with this. So basically, I also couldn't open the main link. That's why I'm off localhost. But basically when we toggle, we can go and see that like the amount of purchases is 6. And then if we toggle one more time, it'll go to 7 and so on. And we also can see dates change. I currently don't have like all of the console logs in place, but if you were testing this function, you were seeing that there were a bunch of console logs that would hopefully make you think that the function works. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for demoing this with us. Nika's PR this week was kind of a bigger one logic-wise, and you did a really great job of breaking everything up and kind of having them into its own separate logical units so that people can come in and refactor the code later. So really great job with that. But yeah, I think so that's the end for demos. Ahsan, did you want to go through the learning module after this? Awesome.
You got it. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, awesome. Hopefully folks are doing good. If you actually had an opportunity to like async go through the intro to Agile, I made a few adjustments to the slides. I felt like there was some more stuff we can cover, maybe language that could be changed. So there's a bit of a copy change, but hopefully it's not going to be too much to handle. So let's go through it. I'm going to move my Zoom over here and go ahead and share my screen here. All right, okay, share. And this window here. No, hold on. Yes. Oh, there we go. Okay, thumbs up when you can see this. Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome, folks. Today we are going to be covering Intro to Agile. So let's get started. So what is Agile? So Agile is a flexible, iterative approach to product development for product management that focuses on delivering high-quality solutions through continuous collaboration, adaptive planning, and rapid response to changes. It allows teams to adapt and evolve through the project's lifecycle, ensuring the product remains aligned with shifting needs and evolving requirements in a complex and dynamic environment. So that's a lot, but really what it's trying to say is just it's a very flexible framework where you make incremental changes to your software. And as a team, you come together and collaborate on finding the best way to move forward. So Agile is often broken down and shared through the manifesto they have. So the Agile manifesto values individuals and iterations over processes and tools. It values working software over comprehensive documentation. It values customer collaboration over a contract negotiation, and it values responding to change over following a plan. So this is where the flexibility comes in. It focuses on the value that you're going to deliver over the hindrances that come with just being very process focused. So while the values on the right are important, we focus more so what's on the left side. Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive into Scrum. So Scrum is just one of the many Agile methodologies. There's many Agile methodologies out there. I think Waterfall is just another one of them, but Scrum is the one that's often used in Agile frameworks, especially if your team is committed to that. So Scrum is a lightweight, flexible framework that enables teams to tackle complex problems while efficiently and creatively delivering products at the highest possible value. So some of the key things to know about Scrum is that it's very lightweight. It focuses on essential process, minimizing overhead. So again, it focuses on delivering value over those processes. It's very easy to understand. So once you get into the rhythm of the rituals that you do weekly, and we've been doing them every 2 weeks. So retro is a ritual that you do under Scrum. It becomes really straightforward. It can be a little bit challenging to master, but one of the really cool things about Scrum is you have something called a Scrum Master, who is often there to help you guide teams through the Scrum process. So nothing too hard to tackle. So what are the typical Scrum roles? So one of the typical Scrum roles, and we have one on our team, is the product owner. So product owners are accountable for maximizing the value of the product and optimizing the development team's work. They define and prioritize the backlog, ensuring that the team works in the most valuable task. So the product owner is really setting the direction for the product itself. They're going to be taking in the requests from stakeholders and making sure that we're tackling the most important work and the work that's going to deliver the highest value. And that's going to the product owner taking accountability for the team's work and what they're going to deliver to the stakeholders, right? You have the Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master is a servant leader who facilitates the Scrum process and ensures that the team adheres to the Scrum practices. So they're basically there. They're not acting as a product owner or a development team. They're kind of this third party, not biased at all. Essentially, what they're trying to do is make sure the team is as efficient as possible at moving forward. Whenever there's any obstacles that may come, perhaps the product owner is saying this work is not important, the development team is saying this work is important, they're there to kind of mitigate that work as well and kind of just make sure that the team keeps moving forward. And lastly, you have the development team, which is like your engineering managers and your engineers that are working on that team. So a self-organizing group responsible for determining the how of the implementation, and they're committed to delivering the work requested by the product owner. What's great about the development team is they estimate their work and take full responsibility of what they're going to ship. So they are the ones that commit to, hey, this is how much work we can tackle. This is how, what our this is what our deliverables look like, and this is what we can deliver, within this time frame, making sure the product still looks good. So they're very self-organized in that way. So kind of how this all ties together is product owners are kind of setting the work of like what needs to be done, and the development team decides how they're going to do it. So product owners don't tell developers what they're going to do. They tell what needs to be done, and the development teams looks at that work and they're like, this is how we can break it down and deliver it, which is really cool. It works out really well. Some of the other interested parties in Scrum, you have the internal and external stakeholders, so individual or groups that are interested in the project, such as management and investors. Again, these could be, exec level people. They could be your group product managers, essentially people that are reporting to the CEO. It could be really anyone who is directly going to be impacted by that product. So for example, if you have someone who is in charge of sharing, it could be sales of what your product is able to deliver. They may come into the product owner and be like, hey, these are the people we've spoken to. These are the features that we want the product to have. And this is kind of how that ties together. Obviously, you have your customers and end users and other partners as well. Cool. Let's maybe go into what a user story is and what it means to be a self-organizing team. So user story is broken down into kind of three main things. So as a user, it doesn't have to be specifically a user. It could be like, as a user, I want to be able to do this. It could be as a customer, I want to be able to do this. It could be as a really fill in any blank, depending on what your product is trying to do. So for example, if you're making a product that's for students, it could be, as a student, I want to be able to do this. Or as a teacher, I want to be able to do this. And then of course you have your, I want to be able to accomplish a specific goal. So it could be, as a teacher, I want to be able to check students in as soon as they walk into my class, right? So that could be like a user story itself. And then the benefit itself, because Scrum is so value driven and so is Agile, you want to be able to make sure you're able to tie the work to a value. So it could be like, as a teacher, I want to be able to check students in as they walk in so that I could keep track of all the students that attended the class today. So that's one specific story you could tackle if you're working on that kind of app. So a user story focuses on what, who, and why, not the how, because again, the development team kind of decides on how they want to tackle that work. It clearly communicates the business value or the need. It enables incremental development and delivery, provides a mechanism for gathering feedback to refine future user stories, and typically represents as an individual ticket on the backlog. Awesome. So going into more what a self-organizing team is, a team decides how to best accomplish their objective during refinements and sprint planning sessions. Refinements are often, something that would happen bi-weekly, same with sprint planning. And so what refinements allow you to do is that as a team, you would go through your backlog, see how your tickets are created, see if there's anything, any additional information that your tickets need to be able to make sure that they can cross the finish line without any hindrance. So a team takes collective responsibility for delivery of each objective, often collaborating through pairing, swarming, or mob programming when necessary, and then self-assigned. So they assign themselves the work rather than someone assigning the work to them. Awesome. So Scrum and Agile at the Collab Lab. So of course, one of the tenets of the Collab Lab is collaboration. We've been really loud about that. You folks have been doing really well when it comes to collaboration. So in our team, the mentors may take a role of the Scrum Master, but one of the many benefits of the Collab Lab is that's very flexible and relaxed, so no stress about what role you're trying to take on. And then as a team, you will decide which ticket you and your partner will tackle for the week. And then obviously, we've been doing this already, you'll participate in retrospectives. And the weekly things are almost like sprint planning in a way as well, because we kind of plan the sprint for the week and then Monday to Friday we tackle the sprint. So we've kind of been doing that a little bit too. Awesome. Deeper dive and credit. Major thank you to Dan for providing us this content. You can find the original presentation here. And if you'd like to contact him directly, there's his information there. Again, I made some changes to the slides, so I'll upload the updated version with a little bit more information. Before I wrap up, is there any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what is swarming or mob programming? I've never heard of either one.
Yeah, really great question. Swarming, and Jen and Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong. Swarming is when you come together on a team and kind of have this collaboration session where you tackle like a single problem with the team just coming together and trying to solve it. So that's swarming. And then mobbing is when you have it's like a kind of pair programming, but like you give turns to every single person on your team and you're working on a project together. There's some really cool programs, especially in VS Code, where like many people can control the screen at the same time. So you're like writing code together. There's not like this concept of navigation or driver, but you're essentially like taking turns and writing code together. Please improve on that definition if I got it wrong.
That's really cool. Thank you.
It's neat. It's there's a team at Zapier that does it really well, and they're really they highly advocate for it. They think it's a really efficient process, and I think that's really cool. It's not for everyone. It really depends on like how small your team is, or maybe what the task is that you're trying to accomplish. So it doesn't work all the time, but you know, swarming and mobbing is really great when you have to come together and focus on a specific task as a team to like get it over the finish line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like to put them in the genre of what I call coding parties. It's basically what it is. It's because it's just like it's like more than three of you or three or more, and it's just like yeah, there's some really cool tools in VS Code. The last time I really mobbed though was maybe in like code school a really, really long time ago. And we basically opened up our repo like it was a Google Doc, and me and my partner and the other person that was on our team was like, okay, we know all the things we need to do. You can start in this file, and then you can start in this file, and I'll start in this file, and then whoever gets done then can come to the other file and help the other person out. So it's just kind of like, all right, now go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's awesome. Cool. Any other questions about Agile or Scrum? Awesome. The one last thing I will say is, although the concept seems very big and maybe hard to like comprehend, it is, when it comes down to it, just a methodology that kind of guides your process. So as you join a team that's using Scrum or Agile, there's nothing extra that you have to do. You know, you'll find those things on your calendar where you're like, oh, as a team, we're doing sprint planning now, or as a team, we're doing refinement now. So again, as an engineer, there's nothing extra that you have to do, but it's really good to know what Agile as Scrum looks like, so you know the reason behind the way you're tackling your work. Awesome. Over to you, Jen.
All right, cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to transition over to issues. Let me see. I have like a bajillion things open here, so let me try to see, make sure I grab the right one. Yeah, I think this is the right one. Can you all see my screen? I'm gonna try to rearrange all this stuff here on my screen. And we're gonna go ahead and start with issue 12. So Gabrielle and Nika, I think you're gonna be on this issue this week. So this issue, let me move our faces to, states, as a user, I want to be able to delete items from my shopping list so that my list isn't cluttered with items I don't want to buy in the future. Amazing, we can get rid of like the 10 different coffees and cheese on our first list. In summary, users might make a mistake when entering an item, or we might just be blasting the list with all of our test items, and we might decide that we no longer want to buy this item again in the future. So allowing a user to delete list items will help them keep their list nice and tidy. So some of the acceptance criteria this week are: the list item component renders a button that allows the user to delete an item from their list when clicked. Clicking the delete button prompts the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item. The delete item function in the Firebase util file has been filled out and deletes the item from the Firebase store. So there's also additional notes here to go over what might be helpful for this issue. Does anybody have any clarifying questions about this issue for this week? Nope. Yeah, thumbs up. Oh, you have a question? Yes?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can like abstract the button into like a component up front so that we can just have like a, I don't know, submit button.
A submit button. I guess in this case, like you could think of it as a form. The other thing that you can think about is making the button do an asynchronous task to delete an item. So there's multiple different ways that you could not attack, but you could tackle this. So that is definitely one way. So I think the both of you can kind of discuss how you want to handle it, but making it a reusable component probably is a good idea. Any other questions? All right. So now we'll go on to issue 13. So Warren Dillek, this is your issue this week. And I want to preface this by saying in the past, this has been the issue that was kind of the most work that Collabs have had to deal with in the past. There's a lot of like logic and different acceptance criteria going on here. So I think as a team, it would be great if we could discuss any like contingency plans in case Dillek is still sick this week so that you're kind of not left on your own, Warren. So we can talk about it after we talk about this issue. Sound good to everybody? All right. Oh, I see there's a few things in the chat here, and I've been ignoring them. Okay. So for this week, what we want to do is, as a user, I want to view a list of my shopping list items in order of how soon I am likely to need to buy each of them again so that it's clear what I need to buy soon. All right. This is kind of like the culmination of all of our work and exactly what we've been trying to build for functionality-wise for this shopping list. So sorting items by how soon the user might need to buy them will make it easier for the user to identify what they need to buy, which will in turn help them better plan their shopping trips. To that end, we will be sorting items into 4 possible groups according to how urgently the user should buy the item. So we know of these different buckets. So we have to have buy soon, kind of soon, not so soon, and a new one that we actually haven't interacted before with is inactive. So to implement this feature, your team will need to create some sort of UI element so the user knows how their items are sorted and write some sort of logic behind the scenes to perform the sorting itself. So we'll go through the acceptance criteria and the notes carefully for this one to be sure you understand the tasks at hand. And don't be afraid, especially for this one, to reach out to the whole team for any ideas you want to pitch. I want to emphasize here that this pulls in kind of all the different concepts we've been talking about, kind of breaking up things into logical steps, having really good, what do you call it, encapsulation of logic. And also this will be really relevant for trying to visualize things in an accessible way. So please don't just use color in this case, and then just stuff like that to think about. Okay. So for the acceptance criteria, we have items in the list are shown with an indicator that tells the user they should buy the item soon, kind of soon, or not soon, or that the item is inactive. And it says here, like I emphasized earlier, this urgency indicator does not rely only on color. So in the Firestore util file, exports a new compare purchase urgency function with the following behaviors. Sorts inactive items last, then sorts items in ascending order of days until purchased, then sorts items with the same days until purchased alphabetically. So a stretch goal, if we're able to get all of these things in, if you complete all of the previous acceptance criteria, consider what happens when an item's date next purchased has passed, but isn't yet inactive. Let's call that item overdue. Extend the functionality of compare purchase urgency to sort overdue items to the top of the list. Indicate in your UI when an item is overdue. So just to remind everyone, we also have like 3 weeks after this to kind of tackle however you want to, as a team, rework the app as well. So we definitely don't have to tackle the stretch goal this week, and this can be something that can be punted to additional features that you could work on. And so that's kind of the whole beauty of a stretch goal, is to give you something else to think about if you have time. So is there any questions for this issue?
I was gonna suggest, I've seen some folks in this group doing this already, but if you need like examples of like the different urgencies in your list, don't be afraid to go straight to the Firestore and like edit the dates on them so you can fully test the functionality.
Okay, cool. With that being said, I guess there's no clarifying questions this week. So, Warren, since you're the owner of this issue that is here at the meeting this week, is there any preference on your part how you would like to handle it if Dilek is still unwell this week and unable to contribute?
Well, for me personally, I won't be able to start until Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's because I have an interview on Tuesday, so I want to prepare for that. So I don't know if Wednesday is a little too late to start, like based on your past experiences with other like cohorts doing this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But
Um, I can also put the alternative out there, and this is totally up to the other pair too. You can switch issues for the week as well if you think you don't have enough bandwidth for this issue. But I also want to be mindful of Nika and Gabrielle's time this week as well, if you have other stuff going on as well. Um, I just want to make sure that we have some contingency plans in place so that um, this issue does take longer. And I've seen in the past, like other teams really go down to the wire to try to finish this issue. So the other alternative here is Warren, we can also just have one of the mentors pair with you this week too, if that'll be helpful as well. So we have like a lot of different options. So if you all have any preferences, just let us know. And we can also continue this discussion async as well. Okay. We could. That would be fun this week. That would be a little bit different of an experience. Is that something that everybody would be interested in? I'm gonna stop sharing screen so I can see everybody's face. I think, Warren, if you're talking, you're muted.
yeah, I mean, I'm open to any help. So I appreciate that.
I'm also open to anything. We can also switch issues too, but I have more limited availability this week because I start my internship full time tomorrow. So I'll just be available in the evenings, but still have time. So I'm open to whatever.
Okay, cool. Well, I can kind of let you all ruminate the different options. And then also, I think who was doing office hours this week? I think Danielle, is it you doing office hours this week?
Yeah. Do you think maybe we should plan around that, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, if we can put up time to, it seems like Warren, you're not available until after Wednesday, but just put up office hours time sometime like Wednesday or Thursday.
Like
Then
Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah,
yeah,
I tend to
we can
agree
all
with
just
that.
kind of tackle it together. In the case that anyways, people would probably need more help for this issue. Excellent. Cool. Well, with that, our regularly scheduled programming has come to a close. Um, so I'm gonna leave it open for any questions that you have in general. It doesn't have to be about the issues or anything. It could be about anything outside in terms of like what it's like working as a software developer and stuff like that. Otherwise, we can also just adjourn early.
I was just going to mention really quickly, just to close the loop, I don't think we're moving to TypeScript. I think we've
Oh,
looked at
that's
those
right.
results and we just don't have the capacity or time to just take that on. I think it'd be really cool if someone doesn't want to throw up an MR, there's no, we don't have to like what am I thinking? Merge it in. But at least that way you can still know if things are passing, if the product is working. So only if you have the capacity, it is not a requirement by any means. But something cool to tackle if you guys want to. But as a team, we decided not to move forward. So just want to close the loop there.
Yeah, and if anyone is actually interested in learning about TypeScript, one thing that I could possibly do this week is kind of take one of our files and show you what it would look like as a TypeScript file. So you can see kind of just in general how typing would help a file or like help you see any like gaps. Masterclass. I still need to record that loom I promised everybody about Git after I finish not having Node. So I'm a bit behind on a couple masterclasses, I guess. But yeah, I think it would just be fun. One thing that I learned when I was learning TypeScript for the first time, there were some things that were difficult for me to grasp from just tutorials, because it's one thing to view a tutorial, but it's another to view it applied to your actual project. And so if people are interested in that and they like give thumbs up, I'd be more than happy to do something like that for one of our files, just as a draft PR so you can see what it would look like as a TypeScript file. Cool. But yeah. I'll stop talking now so I can open the floor to any questions. Um,
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead, Nika.
I just wanted to fill the silence and just, say thank you to everybody who, coached me this week. I want to thank Gabrielle and Jennifer, for pairing with me and explaining me all the things I couldn't understand. I totally appreciate that. And I also appreciate Ahsan posting tests. And it definitely adds to the application and to how professional we look. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, spoiler alert, if you do want to look ahead to our last issue, you may want to kind of gloss through it and just see if maybe you have any ideas of things that you want to bring to the group. This isn't until like the week after next, and you do have 3 weeks to do it, but that may be something you want to check out. Yeah, it's mostly just like, add styling to the app finally. I've had some teams, do fancy modals and things like that. If you want to add any functionality that's not there. The biggest challenge is a lot of times teams will take on more than they have time for. So in the biz, people will call that scope creep. I would say be really careful of that. But
yeah, I think one of the most effective ways that I've seen teams tackle these last few weeks is really hunker down and plan on what everyone's committed to be doing. And then mentors can help kind of guide you if we think it's feasible or not, for one. And two, mentors can also help guide you on sequencing of what features to tackle in what order. Because sometimes the biggest challenge when you're first starting out is to actually being able to see what can be built on top of each other into like logical steps. And so that's definitely, we're here as a resource for that. So just think about all the cool things that you want to do. Yeah. And like Danielle said, some teams loved, like we had a few like designers on the team or something like that, and they just kind of went ham on the styling. Some teams didn't care about style at all and just wanted to add more features. And so it's totally up to you all, since this will be a portfolio piece for you, how you want to tackle that as a team. Cool. Well, with that being said, I guess if there's no other questions, we can end it here today. And always feel free to post any other curious questions that you have in the Slack. And good luck with your interview, Warren, and good luck with your first day of your internship, Gabrielle. Rooting for you guys. Let us know if there's any way we can help with those things as well. All right. catch you all later.
Thank you.
Thank you.